Today's news. Today's news.
The economy shrinks in first quarter.
We're now very worried that we will actually see a recession.
President marks 100 days.
You haven't even seen anything yet. It's all just kicking in.
Latest tool in deportation.
And assist from the Postal Service.
Good morning. I'm Steve Kathan. With the CBS World News Roundup, recession fears rise up again with word from the government that the U.S. economy shrank over the first 3 months of the year by 0.3%. That's the first quarterly drop in 3 years. Economist Diane Swonk says it was sparked by concern over the Trump tariffs.
It was due to stockpiling of imports, basically into inventories. That in and of itself doesn't constitute a recession, but it can precipitate a recession. We probably won't know for sure we're in a recession till well into the summer.
A drop in gross domestic product in 2 straight quarters is often considered a recession. A slowdown's already been noted at many American ports as companies cut imports from China because of the tariffs. Here's CBS's Carter Evans.
The Port of Los Angeles is the busiest in the Western Hemisphere, but now it's preparing for a dramatic slowdown, according to Executive Director Gene Soroka.
In 2 weeks' time, Carter, we'll see a drop on our import side of the business by about a third.
With a 145% tariff, a container of Chinese goods worth $100,000 will now cost importers an extra $145,000.
Inventory on hand right now in the United States will last for about 6 to 8 weeks. After that, shelves will be bare. We won't be able to buy as much online.
At this point, even if the tariffs are reduced significantly,
it'll still take about 10 days to 2 weeks to get these ships back in line over in China. Then it's a 2-week trip here to L.A. So we're starting to cut it pretty close with respect to inventory in the U.S.
CBS's Ed O'Keefe says President Trump went to Michigan with some tariff relief for automakers.
Hello, Michigan. How's 100 days in? President Trump back in campaign mode, rallying his supporters in a battleground state. In 100 days, we have delivered the most profound change in Washington in nearly 100 years. Recent CBS News polling shows immigration remains among the issues the president scores best on. You finally have a president who is defending our borders and our nation. The president's milestone day came as consumer confidence plunged again in April amid concerns about his planned tariffs. But Trump came to Michigan with relief for automakers. They'll still face a 25% tariff on imported cars and parts, but not an additional tariff on other critical materials, including steel and aluminum. And in an interview, he defended his decision to impose 145% tariff 100 days on China. They were making from us $1 trillion a year. They were ripping us off.
The president speaking to ABC News. CBS News analysis of U.S. Treasury information finds that despite cuts orchestrated by Elon Musk's team, the government has spent $220 billion more during the first 100 days of the administration than over the same stretch last year. CBS's Nancy Cordes.
Matt Malkus is a senior fellow at the conservative-leaning American Enterprise Institute, and he's been tracking DOGE's cuts, which amounts, he said, to less than 1% of the government's annual budget.
We see thousands of people being laid off, hundreds of contracts being canceled. How could it be that the savings is still so small?
A lot of government spending just isn't contracts, and it isn't salary.
The CBS's Vicki Barker tells us a published report indicates the Postal Service is delivering for the Trump deportation effort.
The law enforcement arm of the Postal Service has begun cooperating with the Department of Homeland Security Task Force seeking and deporting undocumented immigrants. The Washington Post calls that a new departure for the post office and one that dramatically broadens the scope of President Trump's mass deportation campaign.
The Wisconsin Supreme Court has suspended a judge accused of helping a man evade immigration authorities. Milwaukee County Judge Hannah Dugan, who was taken into custody last week, is now temporarily being relieved of her duties. At least 2 people were killed as violent weather with strong winds shook western Pennsylvania, knocking out power to hundreds of thousands. Here's Megan Shin of CBS News Pittsburgh.
Near Pittsburgh, large trees fell onto homes after wind gusts up to 80 miles an hour ripped across parts of western Pennsylvania.
We both ran in and we ran to the basement.
In nearby Beechview, the destructive storm swept the roofs off multiple stores and sent wooden beams, insulation material, and other debris flying into the middle of the street.
There's trees down everywhere. It's fine.